I was sitting across from Dad at the kitchen table, coffee halfway to my lips, when he made his announcement. It was a Tuesday morning, 8:47 a.m. Mom was scrambling eggs. My sister Jenny scrolled through her phone. Dad spoke casually, like discussing weekend plans. "The mountain cabin sale closes Friday," he said, buttering his toast. "Got $680,000 for it. Finally paying off that business loan. The buyers are a nice couple from Denver. Already hired some architect to turn it into a year-round residence." My coffee cup stopped moving. "What cabin?" "Your cabin." "Well, our cabin." "Same difference." He smiled. "Don't worry, I handled everything. The paperwork's all filed." "My cabin." "The A-frame property on Ridgeline Road I'd purchased 7 years ago for $340,000. The one I'd renovated myself over 3 summers, replacing the roof, updating the plumbing, installing solar panels. The one I rented out, generating $4,200 monthly during peak season. The one Dad had called Sarah's Little Escape Project, at every family gathering since 2017. The one I'd never authorized him to sell. I set my coffee down carefully. "Dad, you can't sell my cabin. It's in my name. I never gave you permission." He waved dismissively. "You're overreacting. I had Jimmy down at the title company handle it. Everything's legitimate. Power of attorney, all that legal stuff. The closing's Friday at 2 p.m. Wire transfers already scheduled." I called the cabin's property management company. They confirmed. Showing appointments all last week. Buyers did a final walkthrough Monday. Architect visited yesterday to measure for renovation plans. At 9:15 a.m. my phone rang. County Recorder's Office. "Sarah? This is Marcus Williams." The voice was familiar, warm, apologetic. "Someone just tried to record a deed transfer on your property at 2847 Ridgeline Road. The signature doesn't match the one on file from when you purchased it. I'm flagging this as potential fraud." Marcus Williams. My former tenant. 5 years ago he'd rented my downtown apartment for 18 months while saving for a house. I'd given him a break on the security deposit when he'd been short on cash. He'd sent me a Christmas card every year since, always mentioning how that apartment had changed his life. Now he was a county recorder. And he'd just stopped my father from stealing my cabin. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady. "Thank you. Can you hold that filing?" "Already done. I've sent notice to the title company and the buyer's attorney. No transfer will be recorded without your verified, notarized authorization." He paused. "Sarah, I'm sorry this is happening. Legally, nobody can sell your property without your explicit consent. The documents show irregularities. We take this very seriously." Dad's face went pale. Jenny looked up from her phone. Mom stopped scrambling eggs. I called my attorney Lisa Thornton at 9:32 a.m. By 10:15 a.m., she'd reviewed the fraudulent documents. By 11 a.m. she'd contacted the title company, the buyer's attorney, and filed an emergency motion. By noon, the closing scheduled for Friday was dead. The ghost ledger started forming that afternoon, sitting in Lisa's office with forged documents spread across her desk. The ghost ledger. Entry 1. 7 years of dismissal. Every conversation where Dad called the cabin Sarah's little hobby, while discussing his real business ventures. Cost. Recognition that my investment property was actual business, systematically denied. Entry 2. The renovation summers. 3 summers replacing the roof myself, installing solar panels, refinishing the deck. Dad told people I was playing contractor. Cost. Pride in skilled work, dismissed as amateur dabbling. Entry 3. Thanksgiving 2021. I'd mentioned the cabin generated $48,000 annually. Dad changed the subject within 30 seconds. Mom said, "That's nice, dear," in the tone reserved for children's art projects. Cost. Financial achievement minimized before it could register. Entry 4. The business loan. Dad's sporting goods store failed in 2019. He'd borrowed $580,000. Spent 5 years complaining about the debt at every family dinner. Never considered his daughter might not be responsible for his mistakes. Cost. Boundary between his failures and my assets, erased without permission. Entry 5. Christmas 2022. I'd received a sustainability award from the county for the cabin's solar installation. Jenny got a 15-minute toast for her promotion. My award wasn't mentioned. Cost. Environmental accomplishment rendered invisible. Entry 6. The casual entitlement. When are you going to do something useful with that cabin? Dad asked last summer, while I was managing a property that had appreciated $290,000 and generated consistent income. Cost. My success treated as raw material for his needs. The emotional accounting was staggering. Not just the dismissal but the belief that my property existed for family use, that my assets were communal resources, that my independence threatened the hierarchy where Dad controlled capital. I understood something that afternoon. This wasn't about desperation. Dad's business loan was on a 10-year repayment plan. He wasn't in default. This was about control. My success threatened his identity as the family's financial authority. So he decided to liquidate that success and claim it as his own. There's a concept in family systems theory called role rigidity. When family members are locked into fixed positions regardless of reality. Dad was the businessman. I was the dreamy daughter who played with real estate. My competence contradicted those roles. Instead of updating his perception, he'd attempted to eliminate the evidence. That's when I stopped trying to maintain family peace. That was my origin story moment. Not when Dad forged the documents, but when I realized keeping him comfortable meant making myself smaller forever. So I stopped playing that game. The procedural justice system moved with methodical precision. Step 1. Evidence collection, days 1 to 2. Lisa and I assembled documentation. Original deed recorded March 2017, showing Sarah Mitchell as sole owner. Property tax records showing continuous payments from my account. Insurance policies in my name. Rental income tax returns for 7 years. Renovation permits issued to me personally. Every document proved exclusive ownership. Step 2. Forensic document analysis, days 3 to 6. Lisa hired Dr. Patricia Ruiz, a forensic document examiner. Dr. Ruiz analyzed the power of attorney Dad had submitted. Her report was devastating. The signature attributed to Sarah Mitchell shows 96.8% probability of forgery. Stroke velocity inconsistent with authentic samples. Letter formation differs significantly from known exemplars. The notary seal shows digital manipulation rather than physical embossment. Magnification reveals pixelation artifacts. Paper stock analysis indicates document was created within past 45 days despite being dated 14 months prior. Watermark pattern doesn't match manufacturer's specifications for claimed date. Step 3. County Recorder Investigation, days 7 to 10. Marcus Williams conducted his own investigation. He discovered Dad had used a legitimate notary's information, Sandra Portman, who'd notarized Dad's business documents 2 years earlier. Sandra confirmed she'd never notarized any power of attorney for me. Her seal had been photocopied and digitally inserted. Marcus's formal report stated, based on signature analysis, notary verification and document examination, the deed transfer contains multiple fraud indicators. Transfer denied. Owner of record remains Sarah Mitchell. Criminal investigation recommended. Step 4. Title company response, days 11 to 12. Mountain States Title conducted their own review. Vice President Angela Torres contacted the buyers personally. We cannot proceed with this transaction. Clear chain of title issues. The seller doesn't have authority to transfer the property. We recommend you pursue legal action to recover your earnest money. The buyers, David and Rachel Chin, were horrified. They'd wired $68,000 in earnest money. They'd given notice on their current home. They'd hired an architect and paid $12,000 for design plans. Lisa negotiated on their behalf. Dad would return their earnest money plus expenses, totaling $83,400, within 30 days or face civil litigation. Step 5. Criminal investigation, day 13. The County Fraud Division opened an investigation. Detective James Cordero was assigned. He subpoenaed Dad's bank records, showing $68,000 deposited from the buyer's earnest money. He obtained Dad's text messages with his business partner discussing how to make the documents look real enough. He interviewed Sandra Portman, who provided sworn testimony she'd never notarized documents related to my cabin. He obtained the original PDF Dad had submitted, which showed digital editing artifacts. Step 6. Family's defense attempt, days 14 to 18. Dad hired attorney Robert Vasquez, who argued the power of attorney was legitimate, that I'd given verbal authorization for family to manage the property, that the sale was intended to help the whole family. Vasquez submitted evidence. Family photos at the cabin suggesting shared usage, text messages where I'd said Dad could use the cabin anytime, and testimony from Mom claiming I'd said Dad had my permission to handle cabin business. Step 7. Systematic dismantling, days 19 to 23. Lisa destroyed each claim with documented precision. Claim, verbal authorization for sale. Response. Colorado property law requires written, notarized power of attorney for real estate transactions exceeding $50,000. State Statute 38-30-115 explicitly mandates written documentation for deed transfers. Additionally, email dated August 2023 shows Sarah explicitly refusing Dad's request to list the cabin because, "It's not for sale, Dad, and I've told you that 3 times already." Email authenticated through carrier records. Claim, family shared ownership. Response. Deed shows Sarah Mitchell as sole owner. No joint tenancy. No tenancy in common. Tax returns show Sarah claimed all rental income. Insurance policies list Sarah as sole beneficiary. Zero legal basis for shared ownership. Claim, permission to handle cabin business. Response. Text message dated July 2023 shows Sarah explicitly refusing Dad's request to sell, stating, "It's not for sale and never will be." Message authenticated through carrier records. Step 8. Formal charges filed, day 24. The district attorney filed charges. Forgery, theft by deception, criminal impersonation, attempted theft of property valued over $500,000. Dad was arrested at home on a Thursday morning. Detective Cordero's arrest report noted, defendant stated, "This is ridiculous. It's family property. She should want to help me." When informed the property was solely owned by victim, defendant said, "She's my daughter. What's hers should be available for family needs." Step 9. Trial and conviction, days 25 to 68. Dad refused the plea deal, convinced a jury would see this as a family misunderstanding. The trial lasted 8 days. The prosecution presented Marcus Williams, Dr. Ruiz, Sandra Portman, the Chens, and Detective Cordero. The evidence was overwhelming. Forensic documents, witness testimony, bank records, digital forensics showing premeditation. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge's sentencing statement was precise. Mr. Mitchell demonstrated calculated deception and complete disregard for his daughter's property rights. This was not a family dispute. This was theft executed through fraud. The fact the victim is his daughter makes this more egregious, not less. Sentence: 3 years in state prison, 6 years supervised probation, $186,900 in restitution. Step 10. Appeals denied, day 140. Dad filed an appeal claiming ineffective counsel and judicial bias. The appellate court denied it in 3 pages, noting overwhelming evidence of deliberate fraud, and defendants' continued belief that familial relationship grants property rights demonstrates lack of rehabilitation. The consequences cascaded systematically. Criminal consequences. Dad reported to Fremont Correctional Facility on October 3rd. His sporting goods consulting business dissolved immediately. Clients terminated contracts within a week. His professional reputation, built over 30 years, evaporated. Financial consequences. Mom and Dad's house went into strain. They'd used home equity to pay legal fees, $47,000. Combined with restitution and lost income, they fell behind on the mortgage. The bank initiated foreclosure after 5 missed payments. They sold at a loss and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. The neighborhood Dad had once called, where people end up when they make bad choices. Dad's restitution payments garnished his prison wages and would continue indefinitely. His credit score dropped to 438. His retirement accounts were seized to pay the Chens. Social consequences. The local newspaper ran the story. Local business owner convicted of attempting to steal daughter's $680,000 property through forged documents. The comments section was brutal. Country club membership terminated. Church friends stopped calling. Invitations disappeared. The infrastructure of relationships they'd built over decades collapsed. Family consequences. Jenny sided with Dad initially, sending texts about family loyalty and hanging Dad out to dry. I didn't respond. 3 months later, Jenny called crying. Dad had attempted to add her name to business accounts without permission. She finally understood. The entitlement wasn't about me specifically. It was about control. Mom wrote letters. I didn't open them. She called from restricted numbers. I blocked them. She appeared at my office once. Security escorted her out. The restraining order was comprehensive. No contact within 500 feet, no third-party communication, no attempts to access my property. The legal boundary would remain until I chose to lift it, which I wouldn't. 8 months later, I stood on the deck of the mountain cabin on a Saturday afternoon. The aspen trees were turning gold. The solar panels reflected afternoon light. The property had been appraised at $730,000. $50,000 more than Dad had tried to sell it for. I'd purchased a second mountain property, a smaller cabin on Lake Serenity, for $420,000. Same model. Vacation rental, sustainable renovations, careful management. Monthly revenue from both properties. $7,100 combined. Marcus Williams sent a card to my office. Glad I could help. That apartment you rented me changed my life. Happy to return the favor. I framed it and hung it in my home office. A reminder that kindness creates networks of protection that blood relations sometimes can't provide. I'd started a women's real estate investment group, meeting monthly. 32 members now. We'd collectively acquired 14 properties in the past year. The group Dad had dismissed as Sarah playing entrepreneur was building actual wealth. There's a difference between revenge and boundaries. Revenge is hot, personal, destructive. Boundaries are cold, clear, protective. Revenge is burning down someone's house. Boundaries are building a fence so high and legally reinforced that they can't reach your house at all. I didn't destroy Dad. He destroyed himself. I simply refused to fund the destruction with my assets. The cabin still stands on Ridgeline Road, its solar panels gleaming, its deck overlooking the valley, its rooms filled with guests who pay market rate and respect the property. It's worth $730,000 now. But its real value isn't the appraisal or the rental income or even the sustainability awards. Its real value is this: it's mine. Legitimately, legally, undeniably mine. No one can take it. No one can forge it away. No one can claim it belongs to the family when the deed says otherwise. From the fortress I built in the mountains and fought to protect, my future begins now. Not with parental approval. Not with Dad's permission. Not with the family hierarchy that required my submission. With property records and rental income and every roof shingle I replaced myself and the legal system that recognized my ownership when family wouldn't. The account is closed. The balance is zero. And I am finally in the black.